All right, guys, welcome to 8 Parkour. This week we are going to do a balance tutorial, basic balance. Balance takes a long time to get really good at, so you're going to have to spend a lot of time with it. And what you want to do is you want to basically find a rail that is not intimidating to fall off either way for you wherever you're at. And then you just want to practice standing on one foot for a long, long time. Instead of just going up and walking across, it's probably more efficient at first to work on just standing on one foot indefinitely and then waiting till that leg gets tired before switching feet and doing the same on the other foot. And then effectively you have walking, but at least you have control with each step. Now, you want to make sure that when you're balancing, you're kind of in one plane of movement, okay? So since we have 3 planes of movement, the more planes we move in, the less stable we are because we have more axes, right? So we're just going to stay side to side, balancing that way. That way, we're only worried about, where our weight is on this side, and we're not worried about having to balance forward and back or twisting, okay? We're just going side to side, kind of like a 2-dimensional picture. That'll keep us more stable. So what you want to do as an exercise is you just want to stand on one foot and balance on that one foot, basically until your muscles start feeling the burn and get tired. Okay? You could probably do that quite a long time without worrying about overtraining or anything like that. So that's the first step, and that's going to be really good if you guys ever roll your ankles or do anything of that nature, because that'll build up the stability. All right, guys, so after you've gone through that level 1 just on the ground level, you're going to come up to a rail that's about hip height or knee height, something that you're sure is stable and you're comfortable just taking a little drop off of. No worries at all, because you don't want to be concerned about the drop or anything when you're balancing, okay? So when we're up here, we're going to practice, before we try to balance across it, we're going to practice jumping off or falling off intentionally. So if we fall off to the right and our left foot's on the bar, it's pretty easy because both feet are already on the bar, or on the one side of the bar. If we're falling off to the left, we're going to have to cross our leg over really quick. As soon as we know we're falling, we want to cross over and our leg and drop down so our legs are both on the same side of the bar and we don't can ourselves. The next thing that you want to do once you're comfortable with what happens falling off either way is that you want to do that indefinite balance. Okay, so indefinite balance on one foot. You have control. You step. And then you do the indefinite balance on the other foot. Okay? When you're making that transition, that's when you have the least amount of stability, because you don't have that other leg helping you balance side to side anymore. Okay, so making these transitions should be quick, but not rushed. So when you're making those transitions, when you go to put your foot down, make sure you have control first. Then put your foot down, feel where the bar is on it. Make sure it feels in a good, solid position before you put your weight down. Because if you put your weight down in a rush, and your foot's on one side of the bar too much, you'll just slip off, okay? So we want to make sure we are comfortable with all of that and just casually walking across the bar before we go to the next step. Once you have full control on both those levels of rails and you want to go on something higher that could actually hurt when you fall off, you want to make sure of 2 things. Number 1, that you practice jumping off that height, okay? So you can comfortably land off that height and not be injured or worry about it. That's step 1 to making sure you're going to be safe. Step 2, make sure you practice the actual safety bail intentionally before, and the different versions of what might happen if you fall both ways. Practice that intentionally first. And then third, you're going to just go back to that indefinite balance. Then when you start to feel anxious, just try to relax on that one foot. And if you have to, practice pivoting and jumping off in a controlled way too. Okay, so that's just balance walking and standard balance technique. There's one other way I would recommend you guys practice balancing too, is just in a perch position like this. So when you're not walking along the rail, when you're just hanging out on it, or when you land on a rail, you're going to have your center of gravity low and be standing on the knuckles of your feet, not your tiptoes or not your arches, and just playing with that. And honestly, if you go on the rail and stand on it as long as you can, you're gonna really work your legs, and they're gonna be really sore if you do a couple sets of that the next day. So